So Donald Trump this week is getting an incredible lesson in the Streisand effect, which, if you don't know, is basically the effect where the more you try and censor something or remove a piece of information, the more attention it brings and publicity it brings to that information. And that's what happened with Jimmy Kimmel, which, again, to be fair, as much as I want to say that Jimmy Kimmel was doing great and had the biggest numbers, the best numbers before Donald Trump went after him, he really didn't. I mean, late night as a concept has been struggling over the last couple of years with the internet, with new media, all these other things. But Donald Trump has done the impossible. He has brought late night back from the dead thanks to his heavy-handed attempts to censor Jimmy Kimmel and anyone on TV who talks out against him. And the effect, frankly, has been crazier than what anyone could have guessed.
Only gets 240,000. Look how many views Tuesday night's monologue already has. 6.7 million. That's over 25 times as large as the median Jimmy Kimmel video normally gets. And I was looking, it is by far the largest video in at least 6 months. So if Donald Trump's idea was to give Jimmy Kimmel more press and more viewership, he absolutely did so. Of course, I don't think that is what Donald Trump intended to do.
Do you have any sense beyond YouTube of just how big his appeal may have been? Like, a lot of people wanted to clearly watch this from all facets of not just in America, but this is from around the world.
That's exactly right. So we got this 6.7 million. I will note that that number is up already about 700,000 from the last time I checked, which was about an hour ago. But take a look here. Record high Google searches last night for what time is Jimmy Kimmel on? You wouldn't have to check what time Jimmy Kimmel was on if you were a regular viewer. The reason that people were checking what time Jimmy Kimmel was on, because he was potentially pulling in a lot of viewers who normally didn't watch. And get this, it was up over 10,000%. My goodness gracious. This, of course, dates all the way back since 2004, basically since Jimmy Kimmel was first on the air. So no, it was not just on YouTube. There was a ton of interest, what we're talking about nationwide, worldwide, in terms of what time was Jimmy Kimmel on, because I don't normally watch him, but maybe I want to take a gander because maybe I'm interested to hear what he has to say.
Jimmy Kimmel himself sort of said, look, when Disney did this, I went to them, I didn't like it, but he also said thank you to Disney for keeping his show on. Is there any indication?
Yeah, from 240,000 viewers a night to 6.7 million. That is absolutely insane. And who even knows, again, all the clips that have been shared, what the actual live viewership was. On YouTube now, his returning show is up to 11 million views now. So really, we might be at 4,000% increase in viewership at this point. Trump has effectively made Jimmy Kimmel the show of the year, the top most watched show on TV of this year. Trump and Brendan Carr and his lackeys tried to bury Jimmy Kimmel, and instead they just gave him the biggest platform imaginable. And with Donald Trump's help, frankly, Jimmy Kimmel might stay in the top of the rankings because Trump just can't help himself but continue to talk about this and continue to maul and melt down on Truth Social. I mean, here's what he posted late in the night last night as Jimmy Kimmel was taking to air. I can't believe ABC fake news gave Jimmy Kimmel his job back. The White House was told by ABC that his show was canceled. Something happened between then and now because his audience is gone and his talent was never there. Why would they want someone back who does so poorly, who's not funny, and who puts the network in jeopardy by playing 99% positive Democrat garbage? He is yet another arm of the DNC, and to the best of my knowledge, that would be a major illegal campaign contribution. I think we're going to test ABC out on this. Let's see how we do. Last time I went after them, they gave me $16 million. This one sounds even more lucrative. A true bunch of losers. Let Jimmy Kimmel rot in his bad ratings. Well, needless to say, Donald is taking it as well as usual. And honestly, I am surprised he went in this direction. I thought truly that he was going to go in the direction of, Jimmy Kimmel's show was dying until I got him back because, I know stars and I'm a star, and anyone who I talk about is going to do the best because I know media. And look, Trump still might go in that direction if he has to find a way to declare victory in this thing, because right now it looks like he lost straight up. And it's so hilarious that over the last few days and today even, how many of these Republicans have gone out there to say, well, this was a business decision by ABC. Trump had nothing to do with this. And yet here Trump is on Truth Social essentially saying, I was fighting to get Jimmy Kimmel off the air. ABC told us that they were going to take him off the air. He wanted this. Let's stop pretending the fake narrative that Trump had nothing to do with this. And in the wake of taking this massive L from ABC and Jimmy Kimmel, let's look at how the Republican leader in the Senate try to dance around the fact that Trump had clearly been the impetus for this showdown and had lost it, and that the government shouldn't be doing censorship, but without saying the words that Donald Trump tried to do censorship and lost.
Do you think that the FCC chair and the president went too far here?
Well, first off, Dan, I think, as you know, I am a big believer in the First Amendment and free speech. And I think that any decisions that are made with respect to programming ought to be made by the companies. Obviously, individual networks are making some of these decisions based on their criteria. In most cases, I assume that's going to be economic decisions based on ratings and revenue and that sort of thing. But yeah, coercive use of government shouldn't be something that is used. I think there were examples, obviously, in the previous administration where the Biden administration put pressure on social media platforms that are communicating news and information to the American people. So these, in any circumstance, the answer is these ought to be decisions left to the marketplace. Now, having said that, broadcast companies operate on public airwaves that are owned by the American people, which comes with a higher level of responsibility, obviously, and certain requirements that they have to live under when it comes to the agency that oversees that, which is the FCC. But as a general matter, my view is that, yeah, the government ought to stay out of the free speech marketplace unless there are clear violations that violate laws that are in place to protect the American people.
So the FCC chair and the president they made a mistake here. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I don't know if they made a mistake. They were making statements.
Yeah, a real profile on courage, and just, and completely incapable of saying the words that, dear leader might have overplayed his hand on this one. Scared to say that Trump was wrong on this one because it is political suicide in the Republican Party to say Trump is wrong about anything. I mean, here's another one on CNBC. They asked Jim Jordan, who's a big MAGA Republican, if it seemed to him that Trump was trying to pressure ABC, which he literally tweeted he was trying to pressure ABC. And let's watch him dance around whether this was pressure from the government.
Congressman, can I just read you something? This is what the President of the United States says. And you tell me whether you think this sounds like coercion or not. I think we're going to test ABC out on this. Let's see how we do. Last time I went after them, they gave me $16 million. This one sounds even more lucrative.
Well, I mean, I don't think you can say this is the pressure from the government because ABC put him back on. I didn't stay up and watch it, but I think he was back on last night. So how is that the government's taking him off the air when in fact the ABC themselves, Disney, made the decision? Oh, we got two of people we do business with, Nexstar and Sinclair.
Right, I'm saying, but
a number of affiliates.
But that does sound like pressure from the government, right? But there's pressure. But it may not be successful pressure, but it's pressure from the government.
I guess you can say maybe some, but I don't think that's what drove this. I think this was a business decision. I mean,
yeah, after about a minute of hemming and hawing, you can finally get to, yeah, I guess you could say maybe some pressure from the government. And I know it's low-hanging fruit, but again, can you imagine the Republicans, who are the whole federal government is being weaponized against us, and the federal government hates conservatives. That's their whole shtick. Can you imagine what they would have done if Joe Biden had attempted to get a Fox News host off the air when he was president? There would have been impeachment proceedings the next day. But because it was Donald Trump who tried it, it's like, what he said was wrong. Free speech doesn't mean that you can say whatever you want, even though that is literally what free speech means. And the derangement, especially on Fox News, goes even further because today there was a horrific shooting at an ICE facility in Texas. And of course, the FBI and Kash Patel and Republicans and Ted Cruz all rushed out there to somehow blame this on Democrats or the left, even as nothing about the shooter is known and the body is literally still warm. And also that the only people who were hurt in this horrific shooting were ICE detainees, not ICE agents. But none of that matters anymore because from now on, any kind of violence that happens in this country is somehow the fault of the Democratic Party. Fox News and Republicans are literally doing the exact same thing that they accused Jimmy Kimmel of doing, which is rushing to point fingers before we know everything about the shooter. And I want you to watch this, how they connect this horrific shooting that happened today to somehow being Jimmy Kimmel's fault.
Out there on the streets, we need to remember that ICE is dealing with what they can see around them, whether it's at a facility that is an identifiable tie to ICE or out on the streets of America where they're trying to do their job.
This is why Jimmy Kimmel needed to say, I'm sorry. And he didn't. And he needs to.
Yep.
And he needs to call Erica Kirk.
Yeah, actually, no. Jimmy Kimmel had nothing to do with this shooting. He had nothing to do with what happened in Texas or with what happened to Charlie Kirk. He is a late night TV host and comedian, and he has the right to make jokes about Donald Trump or whoever else he wants to. The only person in our politics right now who should be apologizing for anything is Donald Trump. He should be apologizing for trying to take people off the air who talk about him in a way he doesn't like. He's the one who should be apologizing for ratcheting up the temperature and increasing the specter of violence constantly in everything his administration does and in all the words he uses. And while, all these Republicans have to hem and haw and dance around Donald Trump and his attacks on free speech, we still have people in office who aren't completely full of shit.
Okay, Nat, I want to ask you about Jimmy Kimmel. He just came back on air last night after his suspension. There was reporting that you are among a group of Democratic lawmakers opening an investigation into Nexstar and Sinclair. Those are the two TV station owners preempting Jimmy Kimmel's late night show after comments about the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Why pursue that, and have you received any response from them?
No response yet, Pamela, but what we're seeing is a gross violation of the First Amendment and the right to free speech. I mean, the government cannot use its power to try to silence its critics in the United States of America. That's what our Constitution says. Now, I know the president was asked months ago whether he had to comply with the Constitution. He said he really doesn't know. But I think Americans across the political spectrum recognize it's very dangerous when Donald Trump and his administration try to punish speech by using government power, like the chair of the FCC said he was going to do, and now Donald Trump, even just in the last 24 hours, has said he's going to go after ABC and Jimmy Kimmel. This should worry every single American. We fought a revolution for, among other things, the right to free speech and not to be essentially punished or even locked up for our speech. But that's the road Donald Trump is headed down right now.